our society, and specifically here in Connecticut, and that is reckless and irresponsible hate speech. Whether it's directed at a Democratic state senator and first selectman, Kathy Austin, or against a Republican mayor, Aaron Stewart, it is something that we all need to stand up against and to call out as the kind of corrosive impact that it is having in our society. You can see the comments that were made regarding Senator Austin in her current campaign, and that is an outrage. We know that we cherish our First Amendment freedoms, but the First Amendment, while protecting obnoxious and corrosive speech in many ways, the line is crossed when there is something that moves into the area of a threat. And that is what we have seen here. It is very disturbing. There is a great deal of irresponsible recklessness that people feel now entitled to communicate over the internet. And they are entitled up to a point. But it is also true, as someone once said, that it would be better if someone is silent. People may remain in doubt about your ignorance and limitations. But if you speak, you reveal it to everyone. And that's what we're seeing with some of the comments that are being made. So it is important, I think, to recognize that this is a damaging element in our public discourse that cheapens it, that makes it dangerous, that causes trauma, and is a terrible example to young people who might become interested in public life. Not to mention the actual threat and menace that is actually behind some of these remarks. So I want to thank my colleagues who are here today and those who are broadly supportive and are concerned about this and are here in support of Senator Austin. And at this point, I would like to introduce our Majority Leader, Senator Bob Duff.
Thank you, Senator Looney, and thank you for all your leadership on this and gathering us all together today to reject this hate speech that is before us today. We all know that in politics we get criticized, and rightfully so for things, and people have various opinions. But what we see here that has been online is completely over the top and reckless, and sends a signal to people who are in office and who are considering public service that they should not be involved. And more specifically to Kathy Austin, who is our state senator and who is the first selectwoman of this town, that who is a fine public servant. She dedicates herself and dedicates her life to public service. She stands up for what she thinks is right, and no person, especially Kathy Austin, should have to put up with and deal with this type of reckless rhetoric, hate speech, and inappropriate comments. And so, as Senator Looney said, we call on everyone, not just Democrats, but Democrats and Republicans across the state who are in positions of influence and who have voices, to reject this kind of speech that's out here, to say that this is over the top, that this should not be what is normalized in our communities. As we, we all live in this state. We love this state. We want to have a better state. And, there's time for campaigning, and campaigning can be a debate of ideas. It should not be attacking a person or making threats to one's lives or making threats of violence. And so we reject that, and that's why all of us have come here together today to say that we're not going to stand for it in any way, shape, or form for anybody. And again, thank you to Senator Looney for gathering us all here together today and for his leadership in speaking out on both sides of the aisle, and we should have that happen for everybody all across the state of Connecticut.
Thanks, Bob. And now we'd like to hear from someone who I think is generally acknowledged to be one of the very hardest working public servants in the entire state of Connecticut, both at the state and the municipal level, Senator and First Selectwoman Kathy Austin.
So, quite frankly, I'm a little overwhelmed because normally most of you don't come to this end of the state. We're a very small town, and we care deeply about this state, and we care deeply about our town itself. And we also cherish our sense of community that happens here. We don't like to see people disrespect others. And I was, more than anything else, I think I was disappointed that anybody would say this today. In today's world, and because you cannot ever take it as just words any longer. Too many people have acted on words that other people have said. We can't have that anymore. We can have a debate on ideas. We can have a disagreement on which roads should be fixed, but we cannot any longer say to people, you are a person that is, shame them on their body or shame them and threaten to shoot people. That's just not allowed. It's not good language, and language really matters. There are many people that came down here, but first and foremost, we have many of the people in Sprague here today that are here. People who have worked on our Board of Finance, some for 20-some years, came back to visit us here today. Claude Pellegrino, Susan Zimmerman, Dick Waterman, Planning and Zoning for 30 years, Harry Austin, who ran a local mechanics place right down the road here, has driven me around, Manny Menendez, who was 30 years Navy, and I also have the Bonegs here today saying, you know, we don't like this kind of language to happen here. And Denise Dubinsky, who is my running mate and has been my running mate for years, and Jerry LaChance, also on the Board of Finance and Neighbors, and Jack Malone. You all know Jack. He was a state rep. He is the chairman of the Sprague Democratic Town Committee and does great work in the state on so many issues. He's somebody that we count on, and I don't know if I've gotten everybody from the town. And we have people who have come from Lisbon and from Franklin to visit us here today. We all know that language matters, and we're willing to debate any issue, but we don't want to see anybody get hurt for having a difference of opinion. And we really, really want to let you know that this community cares about all people and all ideas, and we want people to speak up and say, this is not acceptable anymore at all, and we need to step back and remember that like my mom used to say, if you can't say it to somebody's face, if you can't go up and talk in front of them, you should not be saying it online and act like you are doing something anonymously, because those words matter. I want to thank you all for coming today. I also want to have you come back when it's a nice event, because this is simply a jewel in Eastern Connecticut, and we matter here. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. And the toppling over of those signs, I think, is emblematic of what should happen to the content contained in those signs. We'd like now to call forward Kathy's fellow legislators and friends who are here, Senator Mary Dr Abrams, Senator Saud Anwar, Senator Norm Needleman, Representative Tony Walker of New Haven, who is Kathy's co-chair on the Appropriations Committee at the General Assembly, and who else was here? Jack and what's that? Kevin, and Representative Kevin Ryan, also from Eastern Connecticut, a longtime member of the House of Representatives. So if you'd all come forward, anybody who would want to add to the comments that have been made, please come forward.
Good morning, everyone. As I started my work as a state senator, you look at role models. One of the hardest working person that I've ever come across, who gives everything and anything that she can to make lives of everyone better, is Senator Kathy Austin. To me, you're one of the best. and we are blessed with amazing leaders. You've already heard Senator Looney and Senator Duff, and you'll hear from other individuals. But I know Kathy gives so much for everyone. She's available to listen, and then she's able to do the best. Again, having something happen or suggested to somebody who gives so much is heartbreaking. I think what has happened is our divisions in our society have become malignant. And this is actually harmful for any society to actually continue on this path. So we have to stand and make a united effort. Kindness, being gracious, being respectful is not a partisan issue. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. I love being here in Sprague and Baltic, and I talked to my co-chair about this district, and the love that she has for this district is just absolutely amazing. My name's Tony Walker. I'm a state rep, and I'm Kathy's co-chair in appropriations. And we spend long days and long nights talking about this district and how important it is for the heart of Connecticut. She has dedicated her life to making sure that the quality of life for everybody in the rural areas of Connecticut is heard. And to have this type of response to her compassion and her dedication to Connecticut is appalling. We cannot accept this. This is not the society that our parents thought of. This is not the society that we want our children to grow up in. Our society says that we can disagree, but we can talk about it intellectually like we are taught to do. So I just rushed over here from something all the way on the other side of Connecticut because I wanted to stand with my colleague and my friend because she is someone who all of us should mirror and support. So thank you all for coming out here, and thank you, Kathy, for everything you do.
Good afternoon. I'm Senator Mary Dr Abrams from the 13th District, and I just want to say that I'm new to public service, and it's people like Kathy Austin that I look up to and respect for the long time she's dedicated both to her community here and to our state. And I wanted to mention also that she's a veteran. And so Kathy's had a long life of service to our country and her community. And I also want to say that would anyone want this kind of language being directed to their parent, their child, their brother, their sister, their neighbor? Because that's who we are. We are your children and your parents and your brothers and sisters and neighbors. And so it's time for us all to say that this is not acceptable. And the only way it's going to change is if we stand up and work together to make sure that people know that we will no longer tolerate this kind of language directed at anyone. Thank you.
I'm proud to stand up here in behalf of Senator Austin. I've worked with her for a number of years, and all the fine things you've heard about her we know is true. She's dedicated herself to this region, to this community for many years, helping to make it a better place. And as we talked about the fact that this is dangerous when people put language like this out in the public, that something may happen. We've seen it happen. It shouldn't happen. And we've got to work together to make sure it doesn't happen for anybody in any office in any part of the state. Like Senator Looney said, no matter what party they may belong to. So we stand here in support of her fine work, her fine reputation, her incredible integrity, and hope that this can be remedied and we don't see it again. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Senator Norm Needleman, and I'm here to support Kathy, who, as Senator Anwar said, is a mentor and a friend. We both run municipalities. We're both running for re-election. And when you put yourself out there unprotected and these kinds of threats come in, they worry you. And I call on the people on the town committee and the state central committee to speak out against this, because every legislator is at risk here in this environment. And we need to make sure that both parties stand up and speak out when hate speech is put up on any of their websites and any of their social media pages. So this is unacceptable. We're living in the wild west of social media. We need to make changes within, and every organization that has social media pages should be policing them to make sure this stuff doesn't ever get up there. And shame on the people that have written these things. This is very unfortunate, and it will dissuade people from serving. And people like Kathy, who work every single day of the year to make sure the town and the state are in great shape, are to be commended and not chastised for this. So thank you.
Thanks, Norm. Thank you, Norm. Any other legislators have come in late? No? Okay. Thanks. At this point, we'll take questions if there are any.
Senator Austin is obviously a state official. Has this been handed over to the state capitol police or the state police here, a local trooper, or both?
Both. We've contacted the state capitol police and also the local resident state trooper assigned to Sprague. Are both been informed.
Now, the Chairman Romano has reacted to this by indicating that they're overreacting, that these individuals are not associated with the party as far as he knows, which makes it different from the case with Mayor Stewart, where there were bona fide Democrats involved in some distasteful language, including one that was a candidate. Care to react to the reaction?
Well, it is true that, to our knowledge, these comments didn't come from any people who have any official position with the Republican Party, but the comments were posted in the Republican Party's Facebook page, and my understanding it was some time before they were removed, and apparently these people felt comfortable posting it there, and I think that's a concern also. As I said, we commented on the inappropriate statement last week from a written Democrat about Mayor Stewart, and this is not and should not be a partisan issue. It should not be something that you only tag the other party with when they say something inappropriate. And on our side, we try to be even-handed about this and call it when we see it, regardless of who the offender is. But
can I hold on one second?
Yep.
Let's just be clear for the record that this was shared by the state Republican Party. This post was shared. So for the chairman to say that it's an overreaction, I will bring him back to the points where it says shooting Kathy or dragging her out of her car. That rhetoric is completely over the top, inappropriate, and should be disavowed immediately by any major political party in this state and in this nation. We should not have to put up with that.
Romano was saying that the post that was shared was how Kathy ruined the lawn, and that the subsequent comments came after and were deleted. So that's not what was shared. That's what was.
I'll go back to my previous answer.
Rosa, can you talk about the impact that this has had and the fact that we're seeing more and more of this, and maybe your hope that going forward people will think twice about it?
Well, I think we should all think twice about it because we're role models for our children. And our children are seeing that people are feeling very comfortable to put lies out about other people, to talk badly about other people. You know, I don't think we should use foul language when we're talking about people, and hateful rhetoric that indicates violence will incur is not something that we should ever find acceptable. And I find it to be, again, just disappointing. It is just not something that we should be doing. I don't normally ever look at the Republican Facebook page. And I have actually deleted some Facebook pages that are only about vile, hateful rhetoric. I won't go on them anymore because all it does is it's harmful to the soul. It's harmful to people to be able to have to accept that as a normal part of life. It's not. It's just not. We need to step back. If you don't like my position on stormwater management or on other policies that we pass, say so. But that doesn't mean that you have the right to say that that you're going to attempt to shoot me, or you're going to attempt to drag me out of a car. That's just, I think I'm almost at the senior age, and I don't think that that's acceptable behavior. So, you know, I just think that that's something that we don't want to see happen, and we don't want to encourage that kind of behavior. And those words, encourage that kind of behavior. Even if the person who put the words up there is not going to do that. What that does is it allows somebody else to say, that person saying it, I'm going to act on those words. And that's not what we need to see happen.
Were you aware that you had damaged someone's lawn, and if you were, couldn't they have just said something to you, and would you not have addressed it?
So I don't drive on people's lawns, but we're out in the middle of the country here. If a property owner says to me, you can drive around, I do. You know, oftentimes you're backing up into a driveway. All of our driveways around here are long driveways. People often say, don't back out onto the road, turn around in my yard. That's what we do. This is a normal sort of event that happens. You know, I appreciate you all coming here to Sprague, but Sprague is a tiny little town with only 3,000 people that live in it. And, you know, if I assume at some point in my 12 years of representing people, I have driven on people's lawns. I'm assuming that to be a true statement, but I'm saying that that would have been done with full knowledge of the property owner. So.
I realize that many of you are new members of the Assembly, but there's some institutional knowledge here in Representative Walker, Senator Looney, Senator Duff. Can you recall what was the adjudication when then Representative Mike Lawler and Senator Andrew McDonald were threatened online? Do you recall the incident? And that was investigated by the state Capitol Police.
I don't know what the adjudication was. I don't know if...
Do you remember the case?
I do remember the case. I know there was investigation. There was a particular individual that was identified. I don't recall the outcome of the case, but there was a state police investigation of that.
Laws are broken.
Yep.
By posting threatening stuff like this on the internet.
Right. The law, the line is crossed when there is an actual threat, and that is the limitation on First Amendment speech. And when there is a danger to the public or a statement that might be inducing or inciting a riot, as Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes said, the First Amendment does not protect the right to yell fire in a crowded theater. So you have that kind of statement or one that is directly threatening to an individual are actionable.
Senator Looney, can you talk a little bit about the common thread here between Senator Austin and Mayor Stewart? I mean, they're both women in politics, and I'm wondering also if you would draw any link back to some of the comments that the President has made.
Well, I think it is concerned that we have two women in public service who are being it is, I think, of concern that the misogyny in our society, that two women in public service are being targeted by this kind of comment. On your other statement, linking it anywhere else, I wouldn't make any direct connection explicitly, but I would say that if it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck and walks like a duck, it's probably a duck. Regarding other figures in government at other levels in this country and their statements.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
First of all,
Sorry.
what they did was definitely.
Thank you.
It's also a co-chair, and you know, people have to understand what your co-chair, your team. You guys can fight with yourself.
Oh, yeah, up again.
Coffee on the way.
So there's one right in there.
Okay.
Been there once already. At this point, I gotta go again.
I'm Beverly Reagan. Hey, how are you? Good to see you. Yes. We're 3,020. Okay.
How are you?
Hey, Jack, how are you?
Hi, Norm again.
How are you, Jack? Good to see you. You doing okay?